Ben Shemie. I'm playing the band Suuns from Montreal. What is my favorite guitar? My favorite guitar, I have many favorite guitars. Currently, the guitar I play a lot on tour is this guitar right here. So it's actually a Maya, which is like a Japanese knockoff brand, and I don't know what the year is. I'm gonna say it's probably like the 70s or the 80s. I bought it for 150 bucks in Montreal. I don't know if this is considered a good guitar. I kind of don't think it is. It's definitely cheap. I think it's actually plywood. But the neck is really one of the nicest necks I've played on a guitar, and I found it on Craigslist in Montreal, and it turned out it was being sold at one of my local music shops that I'd been going to since I was a kid. So I thought I would try it. It sounded really crusty at the beginning, but I actually, if you can see, I took out the pickups and I put two P90s in it. And these are Raylander pickups, which are made by a guy in Vancouver, or I'm not sure if it's Vancouver, but in British Columbia in Canada. He does like custom pickups. And each pickup is actually more expensive than the guitar itself. The hardware is really junky, because I got rid of this tone knob and I just made this a 3-switch from moving it from a Strat to kind of more of like a Jazzmaster style. I've banged it up a lot over the years, and it sounds great and it feels great. It's kind of like my workhorse. I change a lot of the hardware on it because it is kind of cheap, but I haven't changed the bridge, and it stays in tune, and it's fun to play. So yeah, that's like kind of that's my favorite guitar at the moment. My Maya from whatever year it's from. I don't even know. What's my Desert Island album? This is an unfair question, of course. You're never going to listen to this record after the first couple months, but I'm going to pick a classic from my childhood. I'm going to take Paul McCartney's Ram, just because there's a lot of music going on in there. It's pop, but it's also really interesting. It's hyper melodic. It's like a master at work. It doesn't really, it's not very indicative at all of like what my band sounds like at all. So I don't know if it really gives much of a hint to anything about the kind of music we make. But yeah, that's a great record. What is my biggest guitar culture pet peeve? There's a lot about the industry of guitar that I find difficult. Like, for example, guitar strings. I think if you're paying a premium on guitar strings, you're a chump. I also feel the same way about patch cables that are gold plated and have a better tone. That's definitely bullshit. And then there's like a lot of other kind of small things. Like I would never buy a road-worn guitar. Like that to me is also kind of a bit silly. Obviously, like if you have an old guitar that's been played a lot and it has that road-worn kind of look, it's super beautiful. But to buy a new guitar that's been like fake played looking, it just seems like wrong in some fundamental way. In general, I think that like all gear and guitar is definitely, like, I love gear and I love talking about it and stuff, but I have this thing about like less is more, and I don't think you need to have the coolest shit to sound good. And there's definitely this kind of, the whole thing about getting the coolest strings, the coolest kind of peripherals for your axe, and I don't think any of it's actually that necessary. And I even think tone is like 90% the guitar player and 10% like what the guitar is. So yeah, it's a lot of it's the industry of the guitar. Which guitar hero of mine would shock my fans? When I was growing up, Angus Young was like my guy. That's who I wanted to be with, and then it naturally became Jimmy Page. But now I think who I look to as a great guitar player that might shock my fans is I really like Frank Zappa's guitar playing. I think Frank Zappa is like an incredible guitar player. He's got a great sound, and it's kind of an interesting guitar player because he's always surrounded himself with all these crazy virtuoso musicians like Steve Vai and all these kind of crazy psycho guitar players. But if you watch those old videos of Steve Vai era Frank Zappa band, and Steve Vai is just like doing this crazy kung fu stuff, and then like Frank will play his solo afterwards, like the Frank Zappa solo is like so much better. Like it's so much deeper and more musical, and it's not as complicated or as impressive, but it's way heavier. What's my secret weapon? And this is kind of a tricky one because it's not necessarily like a piece of gear or a guitar. I actually went with gear because I thought that's what we were going to be talking about. So I brought out my secret weapon, and it's going to be disappointing for a lot of gear heads, but it's the Digitech DigiDelay. I have many of these digital delay, no frills. That's kind of like, as far as gear goes, that's like my secret weapon. It's, in my opinion, hands down the best simple, affordable digital delay pedal. It does everything. The only thing I would say that's annoying about it is it's heavy. So if you're touring like and you have a bunch of these, it's a pain in the ass because you're trying to get on a plane. But unlike a lot of Digitech stuff, which I'm a big fan of Digitech, it takes a 9-volt, which is actually nice. So if you've ever played like with a lot of guitar players use like the Digitech Whammy, and you'll know how annoying that is because it has its own kind of power supply. So my secret weapon from a gear point of view is like a really dumb and simple digital delay pedal. And then as far as the secret weapon for performing, I think, the secret weapon is just to have like great people in your band and people that you want to play with, and you'll be all right. Quite honestly, like all your gear can be like super shit, but if you have a great drummer in your band, everything's gonna be all right.